A Twist in Time by Wolf 08, Chapter 24. It was common practice for ninjas to lay low while on licensed missions after dark. After all, aside from a few ninjas with special ocular abilities, darkness was innately disadvantaged in combat. So instead, most ninjas used this time to catch up on sleep and replenish their chakra. But other ninjas saw it as a perfect opportunity to strike. If you really wanted to, locating resting teams wasn't a particular challenge, even in the dark. Any cave or thick cluster of trees was a prime spot for taking shelter. So, with practice, a ninja could familiarize himself with cues for tracking vulnerable targets. Yes, there. Locating the target was the hard part. The remaining steps were rather simple. Take out their night watch quickly and silently, and then the rest of the sleeping team was at your mercy. I found her, Orichimaru-sama. It was a real pity Sasuke and Naruto forgot to grab those 3 dead rabbits before leaving their class campsite and chasing after Sakura. Only 30 minutes into her watch duty, Sakura's stomach tinged with hunger. Although she had soldier pills and was certain Naruto smuggled a couple of rice patties into the arena, she wanted to save those for an emergency situation. Sure, she was being wrenched across time dimensions, which was probably slowly killing her, and being pursued by one of the most powerful villains in the ninja world. But, thanks to a combination of stubbornness and anxiety, Sakura knew that no matter how bad things seemed, they could always get worse. This was not an emergency situation. The rice patties could wait. Sakura was perched halfway up on a pine tree where the boys were sleeping. Surrounding branches and pine needles obscured her from view and blocked the breeze, but the chilly night air still raised goosebumps on her exposed skin. She raised her arms and huddled closer to the trunk while peering through the tangle of branches at her teammates. Naruto was spread eagle at the base of the tree. Thankfully, his snoring had tapered off. The poor guy was exhausted after an outrageously fast-paced first day in the Forest of Death. He had worked his ass off in the match against the rain ninjas and their clones, mere minutes after he had been wounded by a barrage of Senbon, or attending to an unconscious Sakura for several hours, and half carrying her to their new hideout. What a tripper, Sakura thought with a fond smile, her eyes following the length of his leg, which was curly stretched up on her other teammate's stomach. Her gaze lingered there, and the smile slowly faltered. She never properly healed Sasuke's puncture wounds, and his chakra levels were dwindling. Under that hug a few hours earlier, he asked once again if she was certain she wanted to take first watch. What? You don't think I can handle it? She shot back with a sneer. Whatever. It was the last thing she heard him mumble before he joined Naruto at the base of the tree. Despite his apparent concerns, he must have trusted that she wasn't about to drop dead, because he fell asleep almost instantly. He really does care about me, huh? Sakura pursed her lips, her gaze lingering on her sleeping training partner. There's no way Sasuke saw her as just an annoyance, burden, or even just a teammate. He never did, and Sakura knew it, even in her past life. Sasuke always cared deeply for Team 7, which had become something of a messed up little family. As a person who eventually threw everyone's feelings away for a deluded quest for power, it's remarkable how many times Sasuke had put his life on the line to protect his teammates. As selfless as he'd become, there had always been something real there, something words couldn't describe, that kept them together. Perhaps now, in this new life, there was something even more powerful connecting the two of them, a special kind of respect and mutual understanding. It sucked, because Sakura's conflicting feelings of fear and love were starting to blur together, especially after the sharp reminder of what Sasuke's future self would become. There was a ruthless killer waging war on Konoha. Here, a genuinely good guy who wanted nothing more than her safety. Nothing makes sense. This is torture. Before she drove herself mad, Sakura averted her gaze to cast all thoughts of her teammate aside. She was on watch duty and needed to be alert and focused. She scanned the parameters carefully, but it was quite dark now. Aside from the glow of the moon and stars, rendering her visual scanning nearly pointless, she had to rely on her ability to detect chopper signatures if she was going to protect her team from prowling enemies. Although she was feeling considerably better than when she fell out of the tree, Sakura got the sense that her trip to the future had taken a serious, and possibly permanent toll on her body. A dull ache was coursing through each of her limbs, and vital organs were at half capacity at best. And, as Sasuke pointed out, there was something wrong with her chakra circulation. Even now it was fluctuating in ways she couldn't get a handle on. Sakura knew there was no amount of magical ninjutsu to restore it, unless she unlocked her seal. She was certain of it now. Her charging power was on the verge of being unleashed. The strength of 100 seal leached a bit of Sakura's power every time she used it. But then, like an investment, it grew that unleashed chakra to exponential levels. It was an intoxicating, yet frustrating sensation. Sakura knew there was unfathomable strength somewhere within her, but she couldn't touch it yet. But perhaps Sasuke was right about her former violent urges towards an undeserving enemy. Maybe it was her seal's cue that she only needed a little bit more chakra to unlock. She wasn't having issues with her chakra to begin with, and if she wasn't in the middle of trying to keep a low profile, Sakura would have given it a go right then and there. Unfortunately, given her predicament, she was better off holding her time, abstaining from her temptation to. Her head snapped up. She detected a presence. Not just any presence. It was the one she had carried in the alley in Konoha, and in the land of waves. And now here, somewhere in the forest, somewhere close by. Sakura's skin crawled into dreadfully familiar energy as she reached into her weapon's holster for her kunai. Sakura could feel it drawing nearer, but couldn't determine from which direction. Something firmly struck a pressure point at the base of the neck, and she collapsed. Sakura knew from the beginning of her time travel mission she had to sacrifice her old world for the new one. And earlier that day, when the powers of the scroll unraveled, it sent her really into the future. Sakura got the sense her new world was as safe as she once believed. Not only was the village at risk, but also her life. Maybe Sakura was bound for the same fate as countless ninjas before her, or killed in the line of duty for the greater good. But she was going to be killed in action. Sakura sure didn't want it to be here. Tied to a tree in the middle of the forest in the dead of night. When Sakura aroused, two thoughts occurred to her. She was being taken hostage, as he probably should have grabbed that rice paddy after all. Next, she tried to gain her bearings. It appears she was somewhere in the heart of the forest, tied to an enormous oak tree on the outskirts of a clearing about 50 meters wide. The moon was right overhead, which provided a relatively clear view of her surroundings, including her three captors who were huddled a short distance away, all wearing black cloaks and matching black masks. The presence he detected earlier was nowhere in the vicinity. This is so inconvenient. Sakura had no idea how far she was from her teammates. Although her mysterious captors weren't making any move to hurt her, for now, nor did they feel particularly powerful. Rose binding her arms and legs were too damn tight for her to free herself. She also didn't want to spike her chakra and give the impression she wanted to fight. Regardless of who these ninjas were, she was outnumbered 3-1. While keeping her breathing and heart rate steady, she watched them intently to gauge their strengths and weaknesses in case a bout did ensue. But all she could really gather was their unthreatening positions that her chakra levels were being masked or incredibly low. Then, out of the blue, one of the cloaked figures dropped to the ground. Sakura barely managed to stifle her gasp. The energy emanating from the fallen figure fizzled instantly. Even without medical expertise, Sakura would have known he was dead. Then the others, one by one with their cloaks billowing behind them, fell to the ground and died. In the middle of the clearing, under the moonlight, right before Sakura's eyes. They stared in total bewilderment at the lifeless heap of bodies, sealed by the layers of black fabric. Using every skill at her trained eye's disposal, Sakura scanned them carefully, attempting to discern the cause of her captor's death through the darkness. Was there a silent killer nearby? Was she next? A beam of moonlight peered out through the hazy clouds above, shining down into the clearing and illuminating the bodies. There was no blood, no weapons. He didn't appear to suffer an ambush. But she caught something far more terrible in the light of the moonbeam. One of her captor's arms was protruding from beneath the tangles of dark fabric. Along it ran a familiar pattern of black markings. A breath caught her throat. It was a disease. Overwhelmed by sheer panic, Sakura pressed her head back against the tree and stopped with suppressed raising line her brow. It was him, Orichimaru, sending more diseased ninjas after her, and not to kill her, but for some unknown purpose. She needed to get away. Now that her captors were dead, Sifara saw no consequence to spiking her chakra. So without further ado, she put chakra down her arms, turning them into racing starch capsules to split the ropes. Leaving so soon? She halted in her tracks. Someone was directly to her right. Sakura slowly shifted her gaze to the direction of the voice, till her eyes locked on the imposter. Her body seized. A woman was standing there in the shadows, leaning against a nearby tree, staring directly at her with a beady, bloodthirsty stare. The woman was wearing a grass village hip protector and a beige tunic. Her hair was long and sleek, face angular, lips curled to a wicked smile. Sakura knew exactly who this woman was, or who this woman now was. All thoughts escaped and faded away. Like what I brewed up? The woman asked slowly, unfolding her arms and approaching her prey. Sakura's body was frozen, now far too dry to choke out an answer. This can't be happening. In response to her silence, the woman chuckled darkly and slunk into the clearing, placing a finger over her mouth pensively. They didn't last long. She observed while gazing at the fallen cloaked ninjas. Pity. I hoped you would become acquainted. She turned back to Sakura, deranged eyes gleaming. This is for you, you know. This illness. Sakura finally found her voice. Why? She breathed. The woman sneered and drew closer, the moonlight casting shadows along her pale, sunken face. I want to find out exactly who you are. This pink magic I've heard so many things about. She drawled. It's over. This is where it ends. Sakura thought her body went completely numb. This was how she died, by the hands of her greatest fear, her worst enemy, totally helpless and alone in the middle of the forest of death. This was where the mission ended. And somehow, in that moment, Sakura felt a panic surge of defiance. If we're really going to introduce ourselves like this, why don't you cut to the sides and show your real face? She growled. The woman paused, a flicker of surprise crossing her features. I know who you are. Sakura continued bravely, clenching her fists. Orichimaru! The woman acknowledged Sakura's remark, raising her bony, powder-like hand to her own face. What happened next didn't come as a surprise to Sakura, but that didn't make it any less disturbing and gruesome. The woman clawed at her forehead with long fingernails, peeling away the skin. Orichimaru disposed of the disguise like an insane snake as the jutsu broke, his body resuming its original form, and his blood-churning chakra whirling to life. Sakura trembled. His energy was so sinister and so great, she knew this was an enemy she could never defeat. Not ever in this world, or even in the other. He was now in plain sight, under the light of the moon at the edge of the clearing. The face of the woman was splayed on the ground in shreds, and snake-like yellow eyes bored into Sakura's. He wasn't smiling. Who are you? He hissed in that terrible, icy tone of his. But Sakura didn't answer. She was panic-stricken and afraid to say anything that would hasten her impending death. He drew nearer still, till he was towering right over her, body mere inches away. My subordinate has been trailing you for some time now. Coupled with my own research, we have a theory of what you are and where you've come from. But I am employed to pry a little myself. He stroked her face with one of his cold, skeletal fingers. Sakura shuddered while pulling her eyes away from him. Gods only knew what would happen now if he caught her in a genjutsu. Don't look into his eyes! Don't look into his eyes! I also can't help but notice that you reek of someone I know quite well, and that intrigues. And then, to her horror, she felt a cold, wet pressure glide across her chin and along her jawline. It was far smoother and longer than that of a human tongue, and the sensation was haunting. It clicked then. Maybe he wanted her for a host. The very thought chilled Sakura to the marrow of her bones. Cindy detected that she was close to unlocking Tsunade's seal, and maybe that was enough for him to change his mind about targeting Uchiha Air. Maybe she should be looking out for herself, rather than spending her time worrying over Sasuke. Because if he cursed her, it was game over. Sakura knew that, once sealed, succumbing to the allure of Orichimaru's curse mark was a matter of willpower in the end. But that wasn't the problem. She only had a 10% chance of surviving the bite upon its infliction, and in her body's current state, she knew she wouldn't. And the rare chance she did survive, however, would seriously complicate things. If she lived through the pain of it all, she would have to seal it herself. She had a sealing scroll tucked away in her medical pouch somewhere, although sealing wasn't her area of expertise. She had a general background suppressing disease-like curses similar to Orichimaru's. Assuming that he ever found her, she had to teach Sasuke or Naruto to form a makeshift shield, and eventually, she had Kakashi seal it properly whenever he returned from that goddamn untimely mission of his. And of course, these thoughts were premised on a wishful notion that Orichimaru didn't just kill her on the spot. Orichimaru had retreated his tongue, all the while Sakura's heart hammered in her chest. What was his next move? Or as the striking was overwhelming, but her efforts would be futile. Sakura felt ropes move against her arms and legs. As she looked down, she realized with a rush of dread they were no longer ropes. They were snakes. Orichimaru smiled at her wasted effort to free herself, bent his face closer, much too close, so she could feel his musty breath on her skin. She could see every contour of his bony face. She felt all color drain from her own as he gripped a strand of her hair and ran his thumb and forefinger along it. Body tense in anticipation for him to sink his sharp teeth into Explosive's neck. I know how to break you, he said softly as his smile broadened. Sakura's blood ran cold, but her boundless hatred overwhelmed her fear. I wouldn't doubt it, she spat without meeting his gaze. Spark of resistance rising in her voice. What do you want from me? And yes, both figuratively and literally, she knew Orichimaru wouldn't break her, could destroy her. Her body was in its wicked state. She had a hunch he saw right through her. Aside from that, she was totally vulnerable to a Genjutsu right now. Or worse, his curse. She was rendered helpless. That didn't mean she would go down without a fight. If she was going to die here anyways, might as well go down with some dignity. Orichimaru laughed. It was a cold, humorless sound. I'm glad we're on the same page. He droned. Then the ground rumbled beneath her feet. Sakura was certain her heart stopped when she detected a new, gigantic presence looming just ahead, obscured by the darkness of the trees. The head of a mammoth snake slithered into the clearing, crushing the small trees in its wake, its large yellow eyes gleaming in the moonlight, its jowls stretching open to reveal meter-long fangs. Now, let's sit back and enjoy this show, shall we? Orichimaru hissed before stepping away, licking his lips. Show? She choked back. What was he playing at? Was he going to have her fight the snake while he sat back and watched? Was he planning to have her body torn limb from limb by this monster? I need my seal. Look, I need my seal. They're here, Orichimaru said, smirking. Let's begin. They? She repeated, perplexed, but the word barely escaped her when she realized what the wicked snake meant by breaking her. He wasn't going to inflict physical pain. He wasn't even going to drive her mad with illusions. No, what he had in her mind was far worse. Sakura-chan! She watched in horror as Naruto and Sasuke sprang down from the tree branches of the clearing. Sakura heard a rush of air and a sickening sound of severing flesh, and Sasuke's shuriken found their targets in the rope snakes' bodies. The long forms split into pieces, spraying Sakura with their blood, but freeing her from their holds as their broken bodies dropped at her feet. Meanwhile, Naruto took a swing at the giant snake, was dodged at the last second. Orichimaru advanced. You alright? Sasuke asked when it was back to her, kunai pointing towards the giant appalling before them as she untangled herself from the remains of the dead snakes. But she promptly ignored him and grabbed the fabric of her sleeve. He turned back to her with alarm, crimson eyes winding. We need to run, she pleaded. Please, we'll die here. Naruto landed at her side. I think it's too late for that, he snarled, squaring at the giant serpent. Was just coiling up to strike the three of them. Naruto's right, Sasuke said, pulling his arm out of Sakura's grip. We'll take out the snake first. Then he started making a seal for the fire release attack. Sakura gritted her teeth and whirled around looking at Orichimaru. He was nowhere in sight. His chakra was undetectable. She didn't doubt he was nearby, watching silently from the shadows. He clearly wanted them to fight the snake, even though she hated playing into his schemes. At this rate, they didn't have much of a choice. It was beyond doubt that this snake could kill them if they didn't defend themselves. Fine! They would fight. At the very least, Sakura would do everything she possibly could to unlock her seal in the process. T7, let's go! Naruto cried while conjuring three shadow clones. Then the snake propelled forward, forcing the three of them to scatter. Slammed its faces to the ground where they had been standing with riveting force. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura all seemed to be of the same mind. Attacking the brief moment was down. Sasuke twisted around in midair, aiming a series of fireballs along its spine, while Naruto's clones fired knives at its neck from different angles. Sakura lowered her fist with chakra and prepared to drive down the base of its skull with all the force she could amass. But something took hold of her ankle and pulled backwards, causing her to lose her footing and drive to the ground. She clawed to the dirt and pulled chakra down her calf to attempt to break free. The bind was withering, calling out the length of her leg. Sakura grimaced and reached to her weapon holster. It was a damn snake again. After a brief struggle on the ground, she lost the senbon through his head. With a shrill scream, the snake released her and collapsed to the ground. She scrambled to her feet, turned back to where her teammates were battling the monster snake. They appeared to have noticed that Sakura had been held back. Sasuke and Naruto landed on the ground and started running in her direction, but the tail of the mighty beast slammed to the ground in front of them, blocking their path. He doesn't want me fighting with them, Sakura thought, realizing he's crossing her fingers. She felt more tiny snakes squirm up her legs. She turned to her left, and there was Orichimaru, leaning against a tree with his arms folded, an amused smile dancing across his lips. He knows about my seal. It doesn't want me unlocking it. She cursed and wrestled with the snakes, but new ones continued materializing out of the ground to replace the ones she defeated. She stamped her feet and sent small shockwaves of chakra out of her arms to blast them away, but there was no end to them. And Sakura eventually yielded to their holds for a brief moment to look out at the battle ahead. Many of the surrounding trees were on fire. Flares of blue indicated Naruto's clones were hurling towards the monster with chakra-enhanced fists. The boy seemed to have to have her hand because the snake was whipping around, snapping at the air disorientedly, uprooting trees and creating a series of craters around the clearing. Now! She heard Naruto yell from somewhere among the rubble. Then, about 30 Naruto clones sprang up into the air, all gripping onto wires. The wires were gleaming in the moonlight, and Sakura could tell that they were part of an interconnected system attached to nearby trees. The clones yanked the wires up and sent the snake slamming down to the ground, completely restrained. Then, a distinct chirping of electricity met Sakura's ears. She barely caught a glimpse of Sasuke thrusting a Satori-riddled hand between the snake's eyes. Since it was over all so fast, the snake emitted a screeching howl before it ceased all movement. Sakura felt a brief surge of pride in how brilliantly executed her teammate's plan was. But then she was, rather violently, pulled back to her own struggle when one of the small snakes wrapped itself around her neck. She cried out with shock, and channeled chakra into her hands while gripping onto the snake's body, blasting it bit and blitz with spurts of blood, which regrettably got all over her face and hair. Naruto was at her side in a flash, using a kunai to slash at the snakes confining her, sending more snake blood gushing all over the place. By the time Sasuke joined him, his Sharingan glowing through the darkness and covered quite a bit of blood himself. Sakura was free. Thanks, she gasped, wiping her closed hands across her chin and down her arms. You guys were great, but we got to... How did you get yourself into this mess? Sasuke erupted through heavy breaths. It appeared Yoshitori had a price, especially since he had so recently learned the technique. Seriously! Naruto nodded at his side. What's with all these snakes? How did they duck you like that? It's not the snakes! It's... She started, but she stopped dead when she felt the boy seize up as well. Orichimaru's bone-chilling energy was suddenly everywhere, bombarding them with all directions. Instinctively, the three of them turned so their backs could face each other. What? Naruto whispered. Slipping so far backwards, the sucker felt the sleeve of his jacket against her arm. Then, in a swirl of leaves, he reappeared, in all of his terrible glory, at the base of his fallen snake. They all craned their necks in his direction. The sucker's heart was a frantic drum. What was going to happen now? Was he going to kill them all? Curse her? Cast them in a genjutsu and torture their minds? Don't look directly in his eyes! She cried, while averting her own gaze to the snake corpse. Who are you? Sasuke commanded, moving closer to his teammates protectively, fistful of shuriken in hand. But Orichimaru only laughed and shook his head. Why did you ask your teammate, Uchiha? Yes, she seems to know quite a bit about me. Sasuke fell silent. Sakura felt her teammate's gazes on her. She refused to respond. Did Orichimaru actually know she knew him? Does he already spend a lifetime despising him? We gotta go. Now, she breathed, inching closer to the boys. She was getting a horrible feeling about this. You are an impressive trio, Orichimaru continued calmly, neglecting to acknowledge her pleas. This won't be our last encounter. He disappeared. Sakura's breath caught in her throat. See, Sasuke and Naruto had moved back so far, their spines were pressed together. Was Orichimaru gone? Sakura was still in range, so probably not. Then what was his next move? Well, before Sakura could think of how she might re-enter the scene, Sasuke gasped. Sock! Sakura and Naruto whipped around as Sasuke's body clenched and gave away against theirs. Sakura realized what was happening before her eyes confirmed it. No! Something long, scaly, and white was protruding from the ground at Sasuke's feet, coiling around his body, clinging tightly to his torso and neck in what appeared to be a chokehold. What Sakura wanted to believe was that this was just another snake, but upon closer inspection, and with a tab of dismay, she spied Orochimaru's demonic face. His eyes rolled back into his skull, hovering over Sasuke's shoulder. This isn't real! Sasuke! Naruto screamed and taking a physical swipe at Orochimaru's inhumanly elongated body. Though not at full force, this did not to come in contact with his teammate, was now withering in pain. Naruto clawed hands left the scratch marks along the pale, ghostly skin, and as quickly as he emerged, Orichimaru released his grasp on Sasuke, shot back into the ground before Naruto could land another strike. As soon as his body was freed, Sasuke crumpled to his knees, clutching his neck and shaking violently. Sakura extended a trembling hand to touch his shoulder, just as he emitted his first cry, and the unbearable sound. The guttural moan that erupted from somewhere deep in his throat ripped Sakura's heart apart. She faltered and stared at him in sheer terror. She was too late. There were several occasions in Sakura's life when she had convinced herself she wanted Sasuke Uchiha dead. Not only dead, but dead by her hand. A lifetime ago, the tip of her own knife hovered just above the Uchiha crest on Sasuke's back, right between his shoulder blades, as he had nearly run him through, and put them both out of their miseries. But if, in this unjust world, Sakura ever did get her way, Sasuke would never hurt. Deep down, it's the very last thing she wanted, because his pain was hers. Sakura-chan, what's happening? Naruto cried, fighting back the tears so he gripped Sasuke's shoulders, attempting to steady him. Past her teammate's hands and the edge of Sasuke's collar, she glimpsed the black mark materializing. It was an out-body when she answered, and she hadn't yet processed it. He's cursed. Naruto's eyes locked onto Sasuke's neck in horror as he caught the sight of three ink-black toma pressed against the country wound. He might not have known what this curse signified. There was no question that Sasuke's life force was draining. He was convulsing and losing consciousness. Not again. Sakura could not let out play just like last time. Suddenly, her terror morphed into a burning rage. Aggressive and anger surfaced like she had never experienced before. She would not let this happen again. Suddenly, the only thing she was aware of was that he was escaping. Sakura leaped away from Sasuke with a newfound fire and need. Next, she was slamming her fist to the ground, blowing out to clear to pieces, forcing Naruto to hoist Sasuke up and spring backwards. It worked too. It forced Orichimaru to the surface before he made it to the outskirts into the mass of trees surrounding them, and it unlocked her seal. As soon as her fist met the ground, a strange sensation reverberated through her entire fiber of her body, followed by a dull, stinging sensation in the center of her forehead. The sensation transformed into a rust that began in the corner and ebbed down her fingertips and toes. The feeling was pure ecstasy. Sakura released a low sigh and rolled her head back. It was curling into a smile as her entire being was consumed by stunning new power. Not only was she feeling renewed and revitalized, but her muscles felt coarser, skin firmer, heart stronger, her body was armor, and she was a loose cannon. She locked eyes on her target in that moment. Nothing else existed. Orichimaru seemed to read her intentions and detect her bloodthirst. As in a flash of light, he was on her, his long skeletal hands wrapping tightly around her throat. Sakura's own hands were loaded with chakra at a greater speed and quantity than she had ever been capable before. She placed them on his arms. Upon the slight contact with his arms began to disintegrate from the sheer strength of her chakra. Orichimaru emitted a growl and launched his face towards Sakura, his teeth bared. I failed to meet his target because Naruto intercepted, clutched the bubbling red chakra, tearing the man away from Sakura, slamming him straight into the solid earth with a maw of war. Naruto sprang back to Sakura's side, and he seemed to look with her, his pupils slits, his small, sharp fangs protruding past his lips, and his fingers bearing thick talons. His energy was a whirlwind of blinding force, far greater than her own, but Sakura held his gaze without fear. They exchanged a nod. Then Sakura and her seal, Naruto and the fox, attacked together. From all fours, Naruto propelled himself forward, diving his claw hand directly through Orochimaru's abdomen, killing him. But the body started melting on impact, losing towards the ground in a puddle of mud. A mud clone. Then, a white arm shot out from a nearby bush, grabbed Naruto by the collar, pulling him against a tree. In a flash, Orichimaru was directly before him, raising an open hand and unloading chakra to each individual fingertip. Sakura instantly recognized Orichimaru's intentions with Naruto. He's going to seal away the fox like he did last time. Not on my watch! Orichimaru was too slow to react when Sakura leaped through the air, her heeled boots blazing with chakra colliding with the head with a loud crack. The impact drove Orichimaru back and away from Naruto, clutching his head. Sakura admitted his snarl, pulling out a fistful of senbon, spreading her arms protectively. She was certain that Orichimaru she had just struck was reeled by. She felt a slight flicker in his huge reserve of chakra, one that indicated he was experiencing pain. He has to produce a series of clones. When the small army of Orochimaru raced towards the pair of them, Sakura remained fearless and determined. The fight that ensued was bloody, muddy, and ruthless. Together, Naruto and Sakura managed to slice limbs, impale, and decapitate all of the mud clones. Why is Day of Fate playing in my head? But no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't reach Orochimaru's real body again. By the time the clones were gone, a significant amount of their chakra was also depleted. As a result, Naruto started to lose control to the fox. Right as Sakura snapped the neck of the last clone, Naruto, who no longer had any enemies within reach, took a violent swing at her. She managed to toss him at the last second, but the action sobered her from the high of unlocking her seal. Naruto was dangerously low on his own supply of chakra, was relying on the fox's power in exchange for control over his own body. Naruto! She cried, roughly taking hold of his shoulder. Snap out of it! But he struck at her again, forcing her to grab his wrists with all the strength she could. Focus, Naruto! Sasuke's dying, and we need the focus! Her eyes darted from the clearing where Sasuke was laying, and her heart lurched. Her healer instincts activated. What am I doing? Her eyes shifted to where Orochimaru was perched, atop the corpse of his giant snake, arms folded and smirking amusedly. What are we doing? She gritted her teeth. Was this part of his plan? To drive her and Naruto to the edge? To leave Sasuke to die? Was this what he meant by show? Her stomach turned. I think my work here is finished, Orichimaru drawled, as if reading her mind and forming a hand seal. Until next time. A day fast. For good, Sakura detected, because all of his chakra and terrible energy disappeared along with him. She cast a nervous glance towards Naruto, whose arms were still in her grasp. His fox-like features had slipped away, eyes wide and brimming with tears. He seemed to understand that he had been manipulated somehow. They raced to the friend as fast as their exhausted bodies would allow. Sakura pulled off her blonde and mud-soaked gloves and lowered herself to Sasuke, turning him so he was flat on his back. He was barely conscious. Naruto crawled over to them and placed a hand on Sasuke's arm. What just happened to us? He choked. Gazing up at Sakura through bleary eyes, was leaning on her forehead where her diamond shield was now in plain sight. Sakura pursed her lips while pulling out Sasuke's head protector, placing her hands on either side of his head, sending a pulse of medical chakra directly to his brain, intent to rouse him. Sasuke simply couldn't lose consciousness again, because in her old life, when he woke from being inflicted, the curse had taken over him. Perhaps he wouldn't lose himself this time he stayed awake. We lost control of ourselves, I guess, Sakura said quietly, voice rasping with exhaustion. Although she and Naruto had both lost control in different ways, their trigger was the same. Sakura felt her new power stirring within her, but it was straining at her bow. Her rest was over. This strength was something she learned to cultivate and control in time. In that moment of emotionally charged madness, her anger with Orichimaru had been all-consuming. She had forgotten the part of herself, the part that drove her to heal. She gazed down at Sasuke's lifeless face, and felt an unbearable wave of remorse. He was cursed again. She failed to protect him. The skin near the black mark at the base of his neck was red and irritated. His body was fighting it, fighting the odds, a 90% chance of immediate death upon the curse's affliction. Is he going to die? Naruto asked, his voice devoid of strength as he felt. No, she responded immediately, trying to assert her friend, while a sob welled up in her throat and a hot tear trickled down her dirt-covered face. Naruto seemed to detect her words, and feelings betrayed each other. He placed a hand on her trembling shoulder. He did it once. He has to do it again. Stay with me! Sakura pleaded, sliding her hands down, sending an arrow pulse through Sasuke's temples, pushing him closer to consciousness. His handsome face was so pale, lifeless and cold in her hands. She could not live this life a second time. Life spent watching this boy lose himself and slip away through her fingertips. She could not hang on to losing him twice. Stay with me! She repeated over and over again, even long after Sasuke's eyes fluttered open.